very briefly met Marie when I was part of a yacht crew that she was on, and I'm very embarrassed to say that I never really properly spoke to her because frankly I was a little bit overawed and maybe a little bit intimidated, and before I could work up the nerve, she left us to disappear off to the latest crisis in the Middle East. I can't exactly remember what was happening now, but you know, there's always something. I actually really wanted to ask Paul a question. There was something that was kind of alluded to earlier in the film, which was about the idea of addiction to danger, and clearly she really cared about these people that she was reporting on, but it seems to me that she kind of put herself in really rather unreasonably dangerous situations, and I wondered whether there was that element still of addiction today.
No, I really hate that. I hate that whole thing about adrenaline junkies. You know, if you want to get a thrill, jump off a bridge with an elastic band on you or something. Getting shot at and getting bombed isn't a thrill. Marie's greatest strength was the fact that she was terrified. She hated frontline, she hated bombs, she hated bullets, yet she still went and did it. So it's the opposite of that. She was addicted to telling stories, to telling people's stories, to giving them a voice. And I think I don't agree with that. I don't like it. Most of the people I go to work with do not run around going, whoa, there's loads of drugs for that.
I mean, one of the through lines and one of the parts of the story that Matt and I really, really strived for was not to take an opinion. And one of the sort of the North Star for us was the courage through fear. And the fear that you're presented with, as Jamie says, sort of in the movie, sort of the red line and the crossing of that red line. So if there's anything I think that we took away from it, sort of from the process, was somebody who was able to look fear in the eyes and still keep going because she was involved.
That was the fact that there was the fear there and she went through it to do what she had to do.
We've got time for one more question. Is there one in the back? Yep, here in the middle, thanks. Keep your hand up and we'll come to you in the pink shirt.
The film speaks so eloquently of Marie's nightmares, of the things she'd seen and suffered, and I wondered if Jamie and Rosamund, if you had any nightmares of during the filming or after of the things you had gone through in your acting and representing her story.
Yeah. You can't. I think the worst thing you ever hear actors say is, especially talking about war or something, and they say, "Oh, it was so realistic. I got a sense of what it must have been like to be at war." It's just such bullshit. Like, how would you ever have a clue what it's actually like in those scenarios? But Paul, with his openness, showed Roz and I some photographs that were sort of deemed unprintable by the press, and I wouldn't say nightmares, but I think about them. I mean, they were really, I can't unsee those. They were quite shocking. I hope to never see anything like it again. Really hit home what's happening in these places and how wrong it is. And yeah, not nightmares, but that's definitely in my consciousness quite often. Yeah. Thanks, Paul.
My pleasure, mate.
Yes, I think we Jamie and I obviously both felt that the reality of war is infinitely more violent than anything that we are able to consume at home because editors can't print it. So, Marie alludes to it. There's a line in the film, I will never forget what happens to the human body when rent by hot bits of metal. But then, in terms of my own processing of what we saw or felt or experienced, I think Matt sort of got most of that out of me in film because Matt's the sort of director who there'll be a rash will have written that Marie, there's a scene of Marie types up her story in the hotel room, and I'll think, oh, okay, that's quite a sort of small bit of the film. and then Matt will say, okay, I had an idea that it'll be you, me, Bob Richardson, our cinematographer, and sound in a room, and I thought we'd just sort of, you know, hang out here for an hour, and I want you to fully process, you know, what you've just seen, typing up the story. And he said, we're going to lock off the camera, but you can, you know, go wherever you want. If you leave the frame, we'll leave you, and then you'll come back into it. And, you know, that's scary as hell for an actor. There's no parameters, absolutely no parameters. And you don't really want to do it, and yet, you know, I suppose your commitment to the truth makes you go. So I suppose in those moments, that's where I processed everything that, you know, I felt was in Marie's brain.
And I think for me, that's one of the most striking things about Marie, is that I think what haunted her, and Paul can speak to this as well, is I think what haunted her, as much as the images did, as much as the horrendous things that she saw, was the fear that her words wouldn't make a difference, was the fear that her words, when reaching London or New York or Washington, that no one would care. And yeah, I think it's a different type of fear, but I think that's something that she thought about and processed a lot inside of her.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about getting the stuff out there. You get in there, you get what you can, you bring it to the world, and all you can do after that is hold it up and hope to God that the world actually looks at it and makes decisions. Occasionally they do. In the case of Syria, it's been 7 years now, and it's not over. The 3 million people up in Idlib are surrounded by Assad's forces, and it's continuing. And it takes a lot to kind of keep going back and doing that when you don't see reactions, when you don't see anything actually seem to change. I think because you don't see the change, there's no reason not to keep going back, and you know, people will keep going back in the hope that the world pays attention. It's just awful to see it 7 years on and it not being over yet.
The other thing about Marie is that she would have not wanted to be the centre of the story. You know, of all of her writing, she really didn't want herself at the centre of it. And I think that was always where the conflict came, is that, you know, you do have feelings, you do have nightmares, but, you know, where the hell do you put them? Because your main focus and your main drive is to make people care about the things you've seen. I think that was probably one of her biggest conflicts, to be honest. Although I think she'd probably be laughing that we're all here, you know, on stage now, and on a day when there's been this huge demonstration. You know, if she could have orchestrated a premiere of a film about her on a day that everybody's protesting Brexit, and I think she would have probably loved it.
Well, Arash, Paul, Rosamund, Stanley, Matt and Jamie, thank you so much for being here tonight. I think you've made a very powerful film and really lovely. Thank you to Avalon Pictures.